What's going on, guys? How we doing today on this Friday? This Friday, July 5th, and this is not thing in official capacity, but welcome in. This is, I don't know what to call this quite yet. We're just going to have a little fun. I'm Joe Gaither. I'm here with Justice Sandle and Will Miller. You follow us all on social media. You can follow Justice Sandle at Justice_News5, Will Miller at Real WB Miller, and I am at Joe Gaither 6 on every social media machine. We're going to have a little fun because the three of us are obviously working for Chris Walsh and the Walsh Writing Network. We all have our own little websites that we're writing on, and that's what's brought us together. But today, we're not going to talk about any official sports. We're going to talk about a TV show about a sport, a movie about a sport, according to Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque. And so, tomorrow is Money in the Bank in Canada. A little WWE action. So if you're a wrestling fan, this 30 to 40 minutes is going to be for you. If you're not, we understand. No big deal. First off, how we doing today, guys? Will, you having a good day?
Yeah, I'm ready for the show. I think it should be a really good SmackDown tonight, too. This is a continuation of the great format Triple H has done, where when it's a big international show, premium live event, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, they'll do SmackDown the night before in that same arena. Crowd's usually really hot, and it's just a show that's a notch above your average weekly taping, which the quality is elevated drastically on all of those sellouts all over the country here in the States. But it should be a great show. Got a title match between Theory and Waller and DIY, and if DIY doesn't win the titles, I don't really know where they're going to go from here, but it should be a great day to lead into a great day tomorrow.
Absolutely. Justice, how are you doing today, sir? You excited for SmackDown tonight? That's going to be 7 p.m. Central Time up there in Canada. And then tomorrow, 6 o'clock, Money in the Bank.
I'm excited for it. I think that all the events over the past year with Triple H taking over, it's just been fantastic for the most part. I think the ladder matches will be good. SmackDown, these go-home shows before these pay-per-views have been fantastic over the last few months. So I think that that'll continue to roll out. And the pay-per-view looks to be exciting, and I hope it is.
Well, let's just start. Why don't we start with a format? You got a 5-match format, and that's been debated. And we've seen that, for the last, really, since Triple H has taken over. He's kind of pared down the pay-per-view to a 5-match format, and it's really nice and tight. But I'll ask Will, what do you think about the shift to the 5-match format, to keeping everything really tight? I mean, some people who should be on the card aren't going to get a match because it's nice and tight. What do you think about his move to make the premium live events much tighter presentation?
I think people wondered about it at first. You kind of saw that start with the Royal Rumble this past January, which only had 4 matches. And the pay-per-view was actually really good until about entrant 10 of the Men's Rumble, when it kind of fell off and lost a little bit of steam. You saw the stadium show in Perth had like 6 matches and actually ended up being really good. I think the point being, people question this format at first. It's turned into something that's allowed them a lot more ability to really get to the bottom of these booking choices that they have with the storylines that do get featured on the main show. And that's something that I can appreciate as a fan of long-term storytelling, and just wanting to see a well thought out payoff to the product that they're putting out. That's what these shorter on paper match cards have ended up allowing the opportunity to do. I mean, you still end up having, a 2+ hour show with a 5-match card. I don't think you're shortchanged for content. I think particularly this slate for Money in the Bank is one of the strongest shorter cards, so to speak. And so with that, I think this could be really the shining moment for the 5-match PLE format.
Justice?
True. I agree with you, Will. I also think it's more of what he was doing with NXT Black and Gold a couple years ago. He was those really short cards, but those cards are fantastic. Some of the best during that time. You could argue and say that NXT Black and Gold was better than the main roster and what was going on now. That's what really got me back into it, and watching Nakamura come in and do all those things. So I like the shorter format. It gives you time for what people want to see, those long form storytelling, but also allow the wrestlers to actually wrestle. There are so many talented wrestlers on that roster, and even when Vince was still in charge, you could tell that he just really didn't care about the actual wrestling part of wrestling. But that's how you get people to enjoy what's actually going on with wrestling. So I enjoy the 5. I think with this card specifically, you'll have time for the ladder matches, and then you'll have time for those big time storylines like the Bloodline storyline. It's finally starting to kick into high gear, especially with SummerSlam starting to roll around too. Those surprises might come back. Roman might be starting to enter the fray again and things like that. So I think it'll allow them to progress and just allow the stories to fully be fleshed out compared to how it used to be with those really tight and, I don't know, I would say excessive cards.
You can be like Imani Bentley today if you're watching us on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube at Joe Gaither 6. Feel free to jump in and leave us a comment. This is a pretty open format. Imani Bentley wants to chime in and lets us know Jey Uso wins. We will absolutely get to the men's Money in the Bank, but I think that's probably a good bet. With you don't get featured on the poster if it's not going to be your big push. Now, obviously, you could swerve us, and I would love to be swerved because that's what makes the WWE more fun to me is when I think I know what's going to happen, and you surprise me, even if it's something that I'm disappointed in. I didn't want this guy or that girl to win. I love getting swerved. I think that's the most fun part about being a WWE fan. You want to jump right into the matches? You want to start with the women's ladder match?
Absolutely.
All right, so the women's ladder match, I'm just going to go off Bleacher Report's kind of predicted order of match order. It's not set yet. Obviously, we'll find it out tomorrow. But they predict the card to start with the women's Money in the Bank ladder in the match. Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark, just a waste of space in this match. But I mean, it's true. Who was Justice? Help me. Who was it on Raw on Monday that she was the other two ladies that she was in that triple threat match? She pinned
Dakota Kai was one of them.
Yes, Dakota Kai. Boom. Should have been.
People wanted Dakota to win that match. From what I saw on social media, and she's been waiting for that breakout spot. I felt like that could have been it, but who knows?
I don't know. Zoe can wrestle, but she can't really do anything else. That's the only thing.
She has no personality. Her personality is like a brick wall.
Yeah, you can't get across TV well like a brick wall. I mean, you can if you give somebody to talk for her, but I mean, there's nobody really to talk for her. So I don't know. She was like that in NXT too. They tried to push her with that, but we see what it's looking like right now.
I feel like Ivy Nile is right there for everything they want Zoe Stark to be.
That's true.
Especially with this rumored faction with Chad Gable and the Creed brothers coming up that I think is eventually going to happen over the next few weeks, couple months maybe. I think she could step into that role.
That's who I thought. Like either of those two, I was watching, a triple threat on Monday, and I'm like, okay, well, they're either going to push Dakota Kai or Ivy Nile. Surely Zoe Stark's just kind of a placeholder, jobber in this situation, and then she ends up winning, and she's on social media. See, of course I belong, and like, okay, you are a good wrestler, Justice. You're right. She is a good technical wrestler. She's in great physical shape, but she's just there's just nothing about her that makes me. And I mean, shoot, I'll own it. Maybe I'm a little bit sexist, but and I like to check myself. Honestly, I try to, make sure that all my biases are not affecting things. But I just don't find her interesting at all. But so she's definitely not winning. She's definitely not winning. I think Io Sky, I think, is probably not winning. She's not really. Money in the Bank's about new stars, and Io Sky is kind of established, so I don't see her winning either. The betting favorite is Tiffany Stratton, and I'm a big Tiffany Stratton fan. I think she's got a lot of attitude and is very, very athletic as well. But I sneakily think that they might be ready to push Naomi in some sort of a little setup for a feud with Bayley, her friend Bayley.
I mean, they could do the Bayley and Naomi thing on their own. They already have the background story for that. So I don't think that needs to be anything with Money in the Bank. But I think it's time for a new star. And like you said, Tiffany, she might as well win it. Even though I say that she's one of the most popular stars now. She's starting to get over well with the crowd. Like you said, very athletic. One of the most athletic women on the roster. And she's proven time and time again that she is turning into, I would say, one of the best on the roster, wrestling-wise, just with her presence and everything that she has with her. outside of Tiffany, who else could you really choose? I mean, Naomi's a good choice, but it's Tiffany. It's Tiffy time. I mean, what else is there really to say?
Yeah, I would like to see Naomi win that match, just because I think she needs something to put a stamp on this return that she's had. She comes back at the Royal Rumble, and she's been a part of great feuds and storylines and matches. But I feel like WWE could do more to say, hey, this is important, that she's back. She's still a player in this division, if not even more so after everything she did with the Impact Championship. It feels to me as though there's still something missing in that regard. Now, I think Tiffany's going to win the match, and I don't have a problem with that. I think that she needs this type of a win to cement her as a major player, much in the same way, because she's only been on, she's been on the main roster only a few months. She, like Justice said, she has been getting over. She's been getting responses. That's what you want. I mean, whether, they're cheering you or booing you, you want them to care that you exist. And that's what they're doing. Tremendous wrestler, gymnastics background, and brings a lot to the ring in that aspect too. If you want to push somebody that hasn't been there before, I feel like she's a shoe-in.
I think she's a shoe-in to win as well, but I'm pulling for Chelsea Green. I'm pulling for Chelsea Green because she's just this like little stink bomb in the ointment that everybody, okay, she's not the greatest wrestler. She can wrestle, but she's not the greatest. Her attitude and her personality is so fun to me. It's so wild card, and I'm just going to, I just want her. I think that I can see a path for Chelsea Green hiding out under the ring, hiding out in a corner somewhere, letting all 5 ladies beat each other up, and her scurrying up the ladder and becoming Money in the Bank champion and just holding it over everybody. Like, she doesn't deserve it as far as like a wrestler and technicality, but that would just be I would have so much fun with that.
Remember when Ellsworth dropped the briefcase to Carmella? That was hilarious.
Can I get anybody on board with a little Chelsea Green action?
I like the Chelsea Green idea. She's pure entertainment. That's all she is.
Only if it's Ellsworth. It has to be Ellsworth.
Then she can cash in and win, and Piper Niven, since she didn't win at Clash of the Castle, they can kind of have this little like, oh, I surpassed you, this sort of thing. Because she's been using Piper Niven for 2 years now, as far as, oh, you're my bodyguard, my enforcer. I would have so much fun with that, but I think it's a pretty cut and dry decision that Tiffany Stratton is going to win.
Hey, it might be a swerve. You never know.
And there's options. But I will say this, Joe. I'm a big fan of Nikki Cross, but if Nikki ASH can cash in the briefcase and win the title, anything can happen. That was a fun 3 weeks or however long it was back in 2021. But I think with the women's briefcase, a lot more than the men's, and it's been really pretty much since they even introduced the women's briefcase. It's just been better in terms of how the actual Money in the Bank contract has been utilized.
Yes.
They've had multiple same-night cash-ins, including Bayley to become the SmackDown Women's Champion back in 2019. And they've also had other cash-ins that weren't on the same night, but were what the Money in the Bank is supposed to be. Catch you off guard, come out of nowhere, shake up the landscape, and not only the story, but the wrestling, world in general, because these are championship matches. Obviously, these aren't just, throwaway tapings. That's what the women's contract has been, more so than the men. I hope that continues.
All right, I'm going to throw my friend Stingray into the mix, and you guys can listen to Stingray on Tide 100.9 at 6 p.m., 6 to 7 p.m. I'll hear him sometimes when I'm driving to go get something to eat. You can listen to him on Tide 100.9, and he's got all kinds of podcast platforms as well. Stingray asks us all, what are some of your favorite Money in the Bank moments? We'll go Will, Justice, and then I'll finish up.
One of my favorite moments is more recent. I'm a big Seth Rollins fan. I have T-shirts and everything, not current T-shirts, but I liked in 2021 when Seth Rollins and John Morrison, who to this day I believe is criminally underutilized in WWE multiple times, got into an argument over who is the drip god. And they ended up having about a 5-minute alliance that actually worked pretty well. And I could have seen, and truth be told, that wrestling style that they did during that match together actually could have worked as a tag team. So that, who knows? But that's one of my favorite Money in the Bank moments. I really liked the Ricochet spot in that match where he flipped off the top rope while falling off a ladder. Ricochet will miss you after Braun Breaker sent you to the Shadow Realm, which is kayfabe for contract expiration. That ladder match as a whole, though, really underrated. You got to see some guys in that match that weren't in previous matches. Some upsets in the qualifying round, like John Morrison over Randy Orton. I think on the whole, just a really good Money in the Bank ladder match on the men's side, and one that I really enjoyed. Doesn't seem to get talked about a lot.
I would say my favorite moment. I don't know. I'm a big spots guy. I love spots. I think that Andrade Balor Sunset Flip Powerbomb spot. I genuinely enjoyed that. I don't know why. It just looked like it hurt. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. As long as it looks like it hurts, even though they are actually getting hurt on most of these things, but that was genuine pain right there, and I could actually feel that from him. And I was like, all right, cool. I enjoy that. Another moment. See, I'm a big Hardy guy. Jeff Hardy. I love Jeff Hardy. He was the reason I was able to venture over to TNA during those times and then eventually pick up on everybody else. Hardy jumping off that ladder at 23 was fantastic. It's just the spectacle. I think that's something that's wrong with sports now. That's not that spectacle, just the flashing of everything as soon as they're jumping off and just doing incredible things. I love that Hardy moment.
Oh, man, you jumped on one of mine, Justice. Jeff Hardy slamming it on over Edge. But, okay, so I'll pivot. I'll go with 2012, John Cena and Big Show up at the top and the briefcase getting unhooked. And he's like, oh, I won! And that wasn't the plan. And I just think that was a great, oh, well, we're reacting to it this live. I mean, everybody talks about, oh, is it fake, Joe? And I'm like, not really, sort of, it's a TV show, just like all your favorite TV shows. And so sometimes I think it's great when the TV show goes a little unplanned. And so John Cena at the top of the ladder makes me beating up Big Show and winning on accident makes me laugh. See, Stingray chimes in with his. Mine has to be way back when John Cena challenged CM Punk in Chicago, and if Punk won, he would leave the WWE with the spinner belt. CM Punk won. Pipe bomb. Let's go right into the next match. The next match is going to be Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker, and I am a Braun Breaker fan. I cannot wait to see Braun Breaker because Sami Zayn, fun guy, fun guy, good little wrestler, but there's no star quality to him, in my opinion, and there never has been. And I know big bloodline story, and he's got a lot of history, and he's got a great resume. But Sami Zayn, I could always just take or leave. So I hope Braun Breaker beats him in 2.5 minutes.
I think the wrong decision was made at Clash of the Castle in terms of Chad Gable not winning the Intercontinental Championship. So much build, not just for months, but for years. I mean, multiple calendar years with Chad Gable in the Intercontinental Championship picture. It was one of the things that helped elevate that title to the importance that it really needed. And you do this tremendous heel turn. A lot of people were disappointed with the gauntlet match back in March on Raw that Sami Zayn won to even earn the Intercontinental Championship opportunity at WrestleMania 40. And then they turn Chad heel. It's really good. Seems like the storyline's working, and then he loses. And I think, well, this is your one shot to make Alpha Academy interesting. And they're not blowing it. It's actually really interesting. But it just needed that payoff at the end, like I talked about earlier in the segment. When you have these types of storylines where you're building towards something, and when you build towards something, you invest in it. You invest in a performer, you invest in an outcome, you present a situation where people care, like I said, and people care about this storyline. And then Chad Gable loses, and it's more of the same strife with Otis, strife with Alpha Academy over his recent attitude change. Okay, great. I enjoy watching that, but what's going to happen? Is he going to win the title? And if the answer to that is no, well, it's easy for me to see people writing this storyline off over a matter of weeks. So with that being said, and maybe that's just because I'm not overly entertained by Sami Zayn's reign so far, even though it's been 3 months. but I think it's Braun Breaker's time. He's looked really good in this new role they've pushed him in on the main roster. It's just this dominant force. I love that he switched back to fully being a heel. I think he'll be a top heel in the business for a long time. This is a good starting point.
What if I told you guys that I think Sammy's going to win? Because
I'll believe you.
Breaker, he's running through everybody, but who genuinely is going to stop him until the point where he'll either have to run into Gunther, he'll either have to run into Seth, Drew, or even Priest. At this point in time, can he take a loss? I think he can take a loss, and it won't be too bad of him taking a loss. Because look at the way Gunther lost when Sammy beat him at Mania. You didn't think that Brainbuster was coming. He hit that Brainbuster. You're like, oh, okay, cool. He can lose that way. Take those haluva kicks in the corner. Boom, 1, 2, 3. I think it might be in the same vein. Then again, Sammy is starting to be more aggressive on his side of things. So maybe a little bit of heel action from Sammy as well could also get a win for him. But I don't think it'll be too bad if Breaker gets a loss. And I think Sammy will win. But if Breaker does come out and kill him in under 2 minutes, look, it'll be pure entertainment. Like he's just entertainment. He's a better Goldberg, in my opinion. Somebody that can actually talk. And he can just go out there and do whatever he needs to do. Actually do whatever he can do. So
all right,
I was surprised they didn't keep the Wolf Dogs together, but now I see what they were going for, and I think it was a good decision because, like you said, Justice, Braun Breaker can do it, and he's been the guy since NXT. I've been really impressed with him for a couple of years now. I mean, and the way he has learned the business as well. Obviously, it's not that he doesn't have the connections to do that with him coming from the family he does, but doesn't necessarily have the most extensive pro wrestling background. He's a former football player, and he's learned the business. He's taken in all the aspects, and maybe he's being rewarded for that partly, come tomorrow night. I don't know. Either way, like, I think he's been built better than a lot of NXT call-ups are or have been, and that's even going back to when Triple H is in charge, not just when Vince was in charge. It's really refreshing.
All right, Will, I want to go back real quick to your comment on Chad Gable and Otis. They have fumbled the bag. They fumbled the bag hard because you had, 3 weeks ago or so, it was the Otis, I'm done, right? Well, you didn't really do anything. You didn't beat up Chad Gable. Like, the whole crowd's waiting on John Otis to, powerbomb Chad Gable through the ring because that's why I'm done. And so now you're seeing Chad Gable, oh, I'm sorry, I got attacked by the White Six. I need my family. And they're still playing the I'm done card, and I guess they can keep the story going. But I feel like they missed a major moment because I'm sitting and look, yes, I am a nerd like that. I'm sitting in front of the TV for all those segments over the last 6 weeks thinking, come on, Otis, come on, Otis, beat him up. Come on, Otis, you can do it. Stand up for your girls, stand up for Tozawa, and it just missed that moment. And okay, now you've clearly got the we're done, we're leaving the locker room, we're we love you, but we're not family anymore. They fumbled hard on that.
It's a good storyline in the sense that, it doesn't feel akin to these other, it's rare that you see one member of a faction's character completely do a 180 and the others just don't. Because Vince was frankly just not within his abilities at this point to tell that type of story. I don't think he wanted to tell that type of story with basically the fact that it would take creative effort to tell that kind of story. It's a different time under Triple H, so it's all systems go for that sort of thing. And I think that it's a new dynamic. It's not being touched on enough, just how cool it is to see that. They're trying these things that haven't been done for a long time. And the precursor to that was laid with Sami Zayn kind of being somewhat like a babyface in the bloodline with how he would cut promos and interact with the crowd on the road. But it's a real opportunity to cement this as something really interesting. Again, they're doing it. It needs something else. And I think that without there being payoff for Chad winning the title, it diminishes his credibility a little bit. And then it kind of makes you question, what's this all for?
what if the Creeds come in and try and help him somehow, some way? I think they're coming soon. I don't know when, But I think probably before SummerSlam, that the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile, I think they'll start to pick that steam up with that storyline and go ahead and make that transition over. At least it'll be something interesting. They'll have something to do. The Creed brothers, they're fantastic wrestlers. They are athletic freaks too. On the same similar vein that Braun Breaker is. They're just I don't know what they're producing out there in the PC, but they're just producing and producing. But I think the Creed brothers will start take more of a notice of what's going on in that storyline very soon.
You have Better Diamond Mine on deck, guys, for those who pay attention to NXT 2.0. Better Diamond Mine is coming up.
All right, let's move on to the match that I think is probably the most predictable. And so I'm not looking forward to it as much. You got the 6-man tag match. You got Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and Cody Rhodes. They're taking on the knockoff Bloodline with Solo Sikoa, with Jacob Fatu and Tonga Loa. Well, they're gonna have one of those guys, Tama Tonga or Tonga Loa, is what I'm reading. So they're gonna figure out. This is an easy one to call, right? I mean, basically the Bloodline beats up three heroes, and Solo Sikoa pins Cody Rhodes and sets up SummerSlam. Boring. Come on now. Justice, are we getting any sort of swerve here? Anybody coming out to save Cody Rhodes?
Not now. I think it'll be the same old going with Solo pinning. Yeah, he'll pin Cody. And then they'll try and set up a match for SummerSlam that I don't think anybody would genuinely care about until Roman comes out at the end and saves the day, quote unquote, at least for the Bloodline, that is. But I don't think I enjoy what they're doing. I see what they're trying to do, but this knockoff Bloodline storyline is just, I'm not really feeling it. I love Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu is still in the show. He will be probably the best person out of that faction right there that they have together with that knockoff Bloodline. But
it wasn't interesting until he arrived 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, and he outshowed everybody the instant he showed up, flying off the top rope, completely dominating everybody, walking around doing whatever he wanted to do. I mean, Solo's cool, but they presented him in such a way that you can't really care about Solo because he hasn't been talking up until this point now. But if he was able to show his chops like he was in NXT up until this point, then maybe people might care about it a bit more. But even though the Bloodline's going to win, and Solo's going to pin Cody to try and set up their match for SummerSlam, it's just one of those things just to get through.
You have to build the match to SummerSlam somehow, and Solo is not Roman Reigns. He can't just show up after a show and stand next to Cody and be like, boom, you have the title match in Cleveland at Cleveland Browns Stadium. Jacob Fatu should be in this match. He should be the one that gets the high spots in this match. Him and Kevin Owens, oh man, that's going to be magical. I mean, two guys with great talent and an incredible bag that do not care about their own personal welfare. That's going to be something to see. But the new Bloodline, I like the idea. I'm a big Tama Tonga fan. I watched his New Japan matches, the work he did, and including with his brother Tonga Loa. I like the faction. It's not Roman Reigns and the Usos. It's not Roman Reigns and the Usos and Sami Zayn. And I think WWE is trying to feed us this and tell you, hey, this is the same thing. It's not. It's really not. And it's not bad, but it also, was relatively unmoving until last week, MSG SmackDown, when they beat down Paul Heyman. They add another layer to the storytelling for the first time since these new members started being added. I like that WWE's picked up this talent. I think these guys are good for WWE. Tama Tonga in particular, obviously I'm biased, but he seems to fit right in. He's adjusted so well, acquitted himself really well. But, I mean, you guys tell me, is he a guy that you could credibly see, challenging for a singles title? Is Solo there yet without that big win on his resume? I mean, you got to remember the guy has like one win in 2024. I mean, I've personally seen him lose in person. I was at the Montgomery show back in January where he lost to AJ Styles the weekend before the Rumble. I mean, he has to get some respect back.
I think that they might have to squash him in some shape or form just to have some type of credibility back for, especially with Solo. They can't really do that because that's Randy, Cody, and Kevin, but they have to get some type of credibility. I think if they change the match instead of a traditional 3-way and put it into like a street fight, no disqualification, some type of format, let them just go crazy and just get into their bag and just allow them to do whatever, then possibly you can get that credibility with Solo back. But right now, even with that Cena win at Crown Jewel, was it Crown Jewel or it was one of those Saudi shows?
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like it was credible. And Cena cooked him on the mic with half a voice, and Solo just stood there and didn't say anything. I don't understand why they haven't allowed Solo to be Solo, if that makes sense, but it's just not coming across well on TV. But maybe a win here and will allow him to pick up steam, like you said, with that MSG moment with Heyman. Maybe that's just the catalyst right there to get him finally going. But if not, and they waste that moment, then I don't see how Solo. I mean, he could win a singles title. Tama, I don't know. Jacob for sure. Jacob's going to win a lot, I think, over the next coming years. He'll break out and he'll do his own thing. But for the most part, they'll get some tag titles. But
if Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa were not related to we're not anyway, what is it, the Anoa'i family, if they were not a part of the family, would they be anything in WWE? Like, they're not. They're just generic. Like, they remind me of Samoa and AOP. Like, just like, okay, now obviously big different body styles, but like the same sort of thing. We're just here to beat people up. We're not going to talk. We don't have any personality, you know. And maybe maybe I'm a bad fan, but I'm just not intrigued. Jacob Fatu came out with like just was fireworks right off the bat. Was absolute fireworks, and maybe it's just credit the writing. But no, Solo Sikoa just reminds me. It just like I know you're seeing the weekend comparisons. He's wearing the same weekend, outfits. He doesn't look comfortable in his role. He looks like he's faking it. I'm the head of the table. He's faking it. And last week was good. Well, last week beating up Paul Heyman was good. And oh man, Paul, you're the GOAT. We appreciate everything you've done. But he just seems like he's faking it. And it seems like he's faking it until his daddy Roman comes back and whips his ass.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I would say he bought into his Street Fighter, that Street Fighter gimmick that he had in NXT. He actually bought into that, and you could see that he actually felt that. But right now, he is walking around like a cosplay weekend, and it's funny looking on him. It doesn't seem natural. Him in the suits and doing all this, that, and the third. It just doesn't seem natural for someone like him. I say, even if he was wearing what Jacob Fatu is wearing, that'll seem more natural for what Solo is doing. Because you can see for Jacob, it's completely natural for him. He comes in and just runs amok. He's stealing the show from what is supposed to be Solo's show. But up until that point,
backstage creative knew was going to happen, which is why they waited so long to put him out there. I mean, he's been under contract about since the same time as the Tonga brothers have. And I think those fears were well-founded because he just is better. No disrespect to anybody else in the stable, but I mean, this is the guy people are excited about. They're not excited for no reason. The potential is through the roof. And I mean, yeah, he's the guy I could see breaking off from this new bloodline and having the most success.
All right, I want to talk about the men's ladder match, the men's Money in the Bank match. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a great match. You've got Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Chad Gable, LA Knight, and Drew McIntyre. And obviously, we said it at the top of the show, and I'll go back to Imani Bentley's comment, Jey Uso wins. I think that's conventional wisdom, but this could go in a lot of different ways, and I think you're going to see a little CM Punk action in this match. Just coming out and surprising Drew McIntyre, putting him out of this match. And I think that honestly, you could see some Wyatt Six action too with Jey Uso and with Chad Gable, kind of having a little bit of dances with both of those. I think this match could go in millions of ways. I do think Jey Uso is going to win. I'm going to be pulling for LA Knight. LA Knight's not going to win. They got to set up his US title with Logan Paul, but It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for this match because of so many intertwined storylines. You got Andrade, who's a great wrestler. Carmelo Hayes is a great athlete and really a great wrestler in his own right. Like, I think this one's going to be a lot of fun.
I'd like to raise a couple points. I think LA Knight being on SmackDown still, winning the U.S. title from Logan Paul in his childhood backyard is going to be bigger for LA Knight on the SmackDown brand than winning the briefcase would be for him at this point in his journey, I feel, because there's not a lot of fresh stuff for him to do right now. And that was a complaint people had. I don't want him to lose his shine. I feel like he needs to have a moment that, where he wins something big, not just like a qualifying match or something like that. Wins the title, raises a belt. This is it. It's going to happen. It's been on people's radar for months. I think it's one of the most predictable roads, so to speak, of the year of where it's going to end up. Second off, I hope we see Wyatt interference. It's too compelling not to. I think you need the Wyatts to be present. I don't think you can put this product on TV for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then just have it disappear for months at a time and wash, rinse, repeat. That doesn't work. That formula doesn't work. We've seen it a lot. Third off, I would hate to see Drew McIntyre get taken out of the match entirely just because that's happened to him before. Back in that 2021 match that I mentioned, he got taken out by Jinder Mahal and the beginnings of Indus Sher.
Oh no, Will! It's going to be great. He's going to be dominating the match towards the end, right? You're going to get plenty of Drew McIntyre spots. He's going to be climbing the ladder, and out from the ring, CM Punk shoves the ladder over, gives him a go to sleep, and just laughs in his face.
And for what it was at the time, it worked for the story they were telling. I just hate to see that happen again. I mean, Drew McIntyre is doing the best work of his career, and we'll see what happens. There's some people theorizing AJ Lee could come in and push the ladder over, and that would be, oh man, Raw is appointment viewing at that point. Drew McIntyre, he's turned heel. He's done all this stuff. He joined Judgment Day at War Games. And like he's getting hopeless. He didn't win the contract. He didn't win the World Heavyweight title back in Glasgow. He'd come out angry, fuming like he has been, but in a different sense, a desperate sense, thinking, what do I have to do? I'm constantly hitting a wall. They're everywhere. He's everywhere I go. I don't know. They could run another I Quit storyline, but where he actually quits. They could send him to SmackDown. They could do all these. They could have him win the title somewhere down the line. I still think Gunther's the man in waiting for the title with the Bash in Berlin coming up. But I think Drew McIntyre absolutely fuming and flying off the walls after AJ Lee pushed him off the ladder in Toronto would be appointment viewing.
Oh, because you know what's going to happen. Justice could jump in right here. After Clash of the Castle, you had CM Punk on the press conference. The guy asked him, do you think your first match back could be Hell in a Cell with Drew McIntyre? And he looks at him in the face and he says, oh, I'm glad you're not a booker. Like, there's no way that my first match back is going to be Hell in a Cell. But, dude, haven't we been hearing Bad Blood in October? Like,
I heard it's going to be in Atlanta.
Exactly.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
And it might be a Hell in a Cell right there. Boom. They're setting this up to be Bad Blood, October 5th, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk locked in a Hell in a Cell. Because look, these guys still haven't even had one single match. So I think that's where it's leading. Justice?
I think it'll culminate right here, right now. I think fantasy booking is, like, in my mind aside, I think she's skipping out there and she's going to cost Drew. That's what I want to happen. If she just gets out there, her music hits, skip, pushes him over, laughs, skips right out. All because of the bracelet that he took. And if it's just because of the bracelet, then go right ahead. Let them.
Or if her and Punk like kiss on stage while Drew is watching Jey Uso, do the thing with the crowd while he's got the briefcase in one hand. Yeah, you got it, Joe. That shot would feed families, in my opinion.
Absolutely, it would. Who do I want? I don't know. This Money in the Bank is interesting because, like you said, with the LA Knight situation, he could have won last year. My thing is, with this point, you got Damian Priest that briefcase, and he sat with that briefcase for so long because you really didn't want to put the title on him. When could you actually put the title on him? You had to use that Seth and Drew storyline at WrestleMania to put the title on Priest.
And
I
Punk getting injured.
Yeah, and Punk getting injured. So I wouldn't say that Priest holding that briefcase was kind of a detriment to him and what he was able to do. I don't think that they're going to hold that briefcase as long on that person because then again, who are you going to cash in on? You got Cody, and then you also have likely Seth or Priest, or unless you want to hold it until Gunther gets the title. Who is that one person that could possibly do that? You could say LA Knight. The only person you can really think of is Jey Uso. He's on the cover. His popularity has skyrocketed till Timbuktu, wherever. But I kind of want to throw a wild card out there because, like you said, with the women's Money in the Bank, it's a time for somebody new and a new opportunity. Could you give it to Carmelo Hayes? He did just pin Randy, and that's even though it was a roll up, he still pinned Randy. That's a very huge accomplishment, and I know they have high hopes for Carmelo. I want to say Carmelo, in my opinion, because they're starting to get this new generation in.
He's opportunistic. He's got a really opportunistic style.
And that's the whole point of the Money in the Bank, is to be opportunistic. He is very opportunistic. He could pin Cody. He could go pin. I don't know how he'll pin Gunther. I don't know how that'll work in the near coming future. But he has that opportunistic side of him that has been missing in the Money in the Bank type of person. Even like the last real opportunistic person that cashed in, who would you say? I would say Seth at that point in time when he cashed in at Mania. That's the most optimistic person since then. And I think Carmelo could be that person that does it.
Dean Ambrose the year after that.
True. That's true. Ambrose was great with that. I mean, Ambrose called it that Monday before when he said he was going to do it.
That was just such a unique situation with all three guys in the Shield holding the title. You know, it's funny you mentioned Carmelo Hayes. I am so high on Carmelo Hayes. I think he's great in every way. I think he's a great wrestler. I think he's a fantastic speaker. I think storytelling, he's got it down. Carmelo Hayes is the guy that's going to be there after the other guys are gone, and he's going to be here for a long time. And he's in a position now where he can start to have some of those moments, win the Money in the Bank contract, contend for mid-card title, win a mid-card title, win a battle royal in the main event of Raw or something like that. These bigger spots don't just go to everybody. And he's been on main roster programming on a couple sporadic occasions before, such as the U.S. title tournament, which, by the way, he looked great in the U.S. title tournament in the last year. Carmelo, I'm a huge Andrade fan. I think he is a gifted wrestler. I think he's a waste of talent from his first run with what Vince did to his booking after he got off the black and gold brand. He's the speed champion right now. A great qualifying match between him, Kevin Owens, and Grayson Waller a couple of weeks ago. Really great. I don't think he's going to win it. I don't think he's a threat to win it, but he's going to have some really good spots in the match. But if I wasn't picking him, I'd definitely pick Carmelo Hayes to win this match.
All right, so we want to move on to the main event, or we've got any more thoughts on the ladder match?
No, I think it'll be a fun match. That's it.
All right, so you got the main event, World Heavyweight Championship, El Campeón, Damian Priest against Seth freaking Rollins. One thing, when they first go to Netflix, the first time they go to Netflix, Samantha Irving is dropping an F-bomb the first time. And I'm not going to do it here because we have a variety of listeners, but I'm going to pop like crazy when she drops that F-bomb and right there in my living room. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But Damian Priest, Seth Rollins on one leg still? Goodness gracious. I mean, here's a funny, just from a marital situation. Becky Lynch's contract runs out, and everybody says, oh, they're going to let Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are going to take 6 months off to be a family and be father and mother. And boom, Rollins is back in 2 or 3 weeks after. It's like,
just have surgery, dog. Like, it ain't that serious.
Actually,
he has a torn MCL, guys.
He can take plenty of time off, and people will miss him already. But just go heal your body. Like, when you come back, you're already going to be in that title contending picture. There is no reason for him to just run. Hopefully he is not rushing back, and he is somehow miraculously fully healthy. I don't believe he's fully healthy because he was on one leg at Mania. And I don't know how he did it. Good job. Congratulations. Round of applause. I don't know how you did it. I could have never done that. But
for the love of the game, Justice.
It was for the love of the game. It was strictly for the love of the game. But I don't know how he's walking right now, and I don't know how he's going to get through this match. But somehow, some way, he's going to win. Somehow, some way, he's going to win this match because you could say a lot about Damien's title reign, but you really care more about Liv and Dom more than you care about Damien right now. He's been good. He's been all right, but it's Seth Rollins. It's Seth freaking Rollins compared to what Damian Priest is. Plus, going into Bash at Berlin or even SummerSlam with Gunther, who's the more compelling story to tell? Seth and Gunther or Damien and Gunther? I think Seth
and Gunther have the pre-established storyline with Gunther coming out before the Rumble saying, I'm going to win it. I'm going to challenge you. They ran that match as a dark match at SmackDown tapings. I don't know if you guys knew that. It was real. I've seen it. It was really good. They had better chemistry than you'd expect. Part of that is just because Gunther is far better of an in-ring talent than he's ever gotten credit for. But do you really want to see Priest and Gunther? I think there's a lot you could do with it. I mean, two former NXT guys had a lot of success, coming up had a lot of success, but I mean, Damian Priest's title reign, it's not his fault that you care more about Liv and Dom than Damian, because that's how it's been presented on TV. That's what people are going to I mean, there is some, for as much as fans can influence the product, there is some degree that people are going to take the spoon that you've given them and eat off of it. And that's what that's what the Liv and Dominic storyline has been, more so than Damian Priest. Priest is very underrated in every respect, especially on the microphone. And he's had a lot of good segments since he became El Campeon. And I really enjoyed his match with Drew McIntyre. Yeah. But has he been overshadowed in his own stable and his own title reign? It's fair to say that. I would say that. And I don't think that's good for him. What I do think would be good for him is, and he can still be a horse in the race even without that belt. Even if Seth wins that belt, I think Seth's going to win the match. Just putting that out there. I flip-flopped on it for the last couple of weeks. I think Seth is going to win and take the title into Berlin for the match that WWE wants to see. I think Seth would have retained the world title at WrestleMania had Punk not gotten injured, and they would have done the Punk versus McIntyre storyline anyway, just like they're doing. Where that would have left Damian Priest, I have no idea, but I do think that win or lose, I don't know that his stock is substantially impacted one way or another, him being Damian Priest. I think Seth's going to win the match.
All right, this is going to have the most drama. If the White Six don't show up in the ladder match, and if you don't have any Alpha Academy or any sort of like other interference in the ladder match, this match will have the most drama, because this becomes the revealing moment that it's not Liv and Dominic. It's Liv and Finn Balor. That's what it's going to be. The Finn Balor, you've been seeing it creep through the Judgment Day segments. Oh, I want my buddy Damian Priest. Oh, now I'm not getting respect from Damian Priest. And, oh, Damian Priest says, oh, I need to win this match without you guys. And, okay.
Damian's behaving like a baby face. What do we do?
It's going to be Finn Balor coming out or Liv Morgan coming out, and essentially they're going to set up the Damian Priest and Finn Balor rivalry. Essentially, Liv Morgan's whole motivation is to strip Rhea Ripley of everything, right? So she takes your title, she takes your faction, she leaves you lonely with Dominic Mysterio, but Dom's just a daggum, just a pawn, right? We're going to break little boy Dominic's heart, and it's going to be Finn Balor and Liv Morgan. I mean, oh, who takes the hotel room key card? It's Finn Balor. Oh, who's caught in the locker room 2 weeks ago, one-on-one with Liv Morgan? It's Finn Balor. And now you're seeing this. Oh, you're starting to act like a big shot. What was that this past Monday night? You're starting to act like you don't need us anymore. They're going to turn on Damian Priest. He's going to have to leave the Judgment Day, and it's going to be Rhea Ripley on her own little island and Damian Priest on his own little island, and Dom's going to be lonely on his little island, and it's just going to be Liv and Finn Balor with their little sidekick JD McDonough. And I think tomorrow
and Carlito.
Night, oh, yeah, Carlito needs a place to go. Carlito needs a place to go. So I think that that's what's going to be. Edgar Gonzalez. No, is Liv, Dom, JD, and Finn working together? Dominic is a better heel. Yeah, Dominic's a great heel. He's a great heel. But I think that Liv is just using that poor boy to mess with Rhea Ripley. You steal the boyfriend, great. But what's better? Not to steal the boyfriend. It's to show the boyfriend doesn't really love you, and I can have him even though I don't really want him. I just want to take him away from you and show how I can manipulate people. It's going to be Liv leaving. Dom's going to end up folding. Right? He's going to, I do love you, actually, Liv. And she's going to be like, oh, bleep you. I'm sorry. Like, this was all a game. And then he's going to be left exposed as, I left Rhea Ripley, and Rhea is not going to take him back. I cannot wait for it.
It's just high school drama. That's all it is. And it's fantastic. I just somehow, some way, it's just fantastic.
Makes for excellent television, gentlemen. I mean, there's a reason reality television has an audience. Do I despise it? Absolutely. Do I find it derivative? Absolutely. Do people keep coming back to it? Absolutely, they do, and they're going to continue on coming back to it. You see similar, semblances of that with the Alpha Academy storyline. Ooh, I'm mad at you. You're picking up an attitude, so you can't come in our locker room. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. So, and that's what people gravitate towards. People like drama, and that's
I love it.
Part of suspense. It is part of suspense because part of that drama is not knowing where it's going to go next, and that interests people. And that's what's interesting about this storyline. Like you said, Joe, you said all this stuff. I agree with what you said. You could be dead wrong. You could be wrong. And they're going to break up the Judgment Day soon, one way or another, one day soon. But that could be the reason, or it might be something else. The people are in it. They don't know, but they're in it. They're interested in it. They're waiting on the payoff to this storyline. And I don't know for sure what it's going to be. I'm interested in it. I'm waiting on it. I don't know for sure what it's going to be, but it's interesting to me, and it's interesting to people, and that's why they keep coming back to it.
Will, how many weeks ago did I text you and tell you that it's Liv and Finn working together?
Several, like 8.
Because it all goes back to the original. You take Finn from, that basically Judgment Day beat the hell out of Finn, and then the next next week or two, he's in the Judgment Day. And what weren't he and Liv working together? Had some sort of a little thing beforehand. This is all a ploy to rip everything away from Rhea Ripley and leave the Judgment Day decimated. And I think that it really takes a huge step forward tomorrow at Money in the Bank. Justice, Will, I think we need to wrap this bad boy up. We appreciate it. We've had a lot of people commenting. We had Emoy Bentley, we had Edgar Gonzalez and Stingray. We're up to a handful of viewers, so hopefully we entertained you guys talking about Money in the Bank. I know we usually talk serious sports. We appreciate y'all for tuning in to Serious Sports on Kane Central, on Bama Central, and all over the Walsh Writing Network. But we're just some guys who like some wrestling, and I'm excited about SmackDown tonight and Money in the Bank. Justice, you want to give us some closing thoughts, and then Will, and then I'll wrap it on up.
Look, I just hope it's a great show tomorrow. That's all that really matters. Great show. High spots. Look, I love ladder matches. Ladder matches are some of the best entertainments in any type of entertainment quality in the world. It's a ladder match. You see high people jumping from high stuff, crashing their bodies through multiple different people and different things. I think it's going to be a great show. Hopefully they progress storylines in the right fashion, and hopefully they keep going.
It should be great. Money in the Bank before Survivor Series brought back War Games, had eclipsed Survivor Series in terms of the pecking order of pay-per-views. Fantastic show, fantastic matches, fantastic spots. A lot of fans' favorite show out of the year that isn't WrestleMania because of the ladder matches. I do hope those deliver. Those are always a great part of the show, no matter what storylines are going on. I hope that holds true because that's the essence of the show. Should be another great crowd, another international show. Adds a little bit of extra zing to it in terms of atmosphere, in terms of what we can look forward to in the viewing experience. All in all, just a really good card, really stacked card, and I hope it delivers. I hope it's great.
It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow, and I just saw this for this morning. Hadn't seen it until this morning, but the love of my life, Trish Stratus, is going to be hosting Money in the Bank, the official host. So, Trish Stratus, thank you, Trish, for hosting Money in the Bank, obviously in your home country of Canada. That's just going to make it so much better. So, we're going to get out of here. Make sure you follow our friends, Justice Sandle at Justice_News5. Follow Will Miller at Real WB Miller. Follow myself at Joe Gaither 6. Tonight, Friday Night SmackDown, I'll be tweeting incoherently, and I'll also be tweeting tomorrow during Money in the Bank. It's going to be a lot of fun, and guys, I had a lot of fun. Hopefully we do this again.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
we'll get out of here and we'll continue back to your regular scheduled programming of serious sports on all our channels. Thanks for joining us.